Mark Medina, who has seen the Lakers' first 3 games. Lonzo played in a couple of them. It's great to have you again, Mark. LA Daily News, and becoming a regular fixture on our show, our Lonzo guy. First of all, I got to be honest with you. I initially said when John Lynch took over the Niners and Magic took over the Lakers, I said great player doesn't equal great GM. And then I watched the draft by the Niners, and I was like, that was pretty good. And there's a story today the Lakers could also land Rondo or Ian Clark. Well, the Kuzma kid looks like a good draft pick. Lonzo's been terrific. They got Brook Lopez. They got rid of the Mozgov contract. I got to be honest here. I was a cynic. I don't want to be a homer here, but so far, Magic and Rob Pelinka, Mark, it's kind of working, right? Like fast.
Yeah, so far so good. I mean, the biggest priority the Lakers had this offseason was finding a way to get rid of either the Mozgov or the Deng contract. And when he talked to other executives around the league, they kind of chuckled and laughed and said, good luck, like, you know, easier said than done. And they pulled it off even before the free agency period started.
And they also, the other thing they wanted to address was maturity. D'Angelo Russell, Nick Young out. And defense, they just acquired from Detroit a 2-guard who actually plays defense. Now, let's go to Lonzo. Take my audience in to the games, the first 3 Laker games, 2 he played with Lonzo in the atmosphere.
It was unbelievable. As when I said on the show last week, the game was sold out, the Lakers-Celtics game on Saturday. It was like the playoff atmosphere. I mean, there were so many Laker fans filling the arena when the Celtics took the floor. They were booing them like it was the NBA Finals. His dad was there the first few days, so he was kind of soaking in the crowd support as well. And, you know, I know a lot has been made of Lonzo's poor shooting numbers, and he kind of redeemed himself a little bit with that breakout game yesterday. But even with all that in consideration, I walked away more encouraged than discouraged because you looked at his passing skills, his ability to run the offense. He already has changed the culture.
There's no question.
With how they play. And you look at recent seasons, Kobe Bryant's on the team when D'Angelo Russell was the point guard. No one questioned his passing skills, but there was always that puzzle for him that he was trying to figure out of when to pass, when to shoot. With Lonzo, there is no such puzzle. It's on his shooting stroke. But because he has those passing skills down, all his other teammates are cutting harder. They feel more inclined to pass because he's kind of setting the tone there. So as far as big picture implications, I think it's a positive sign already.
We knew he wasn't a great athlete. I mean, that we knew he was never going to be a guy that can lock you down at a point guard position. Could be a long team defender. By the way, Larry Bird was never a great on-ball defender. When you talk to Laker executives and scouts and all these people behind the scenes that won't get quoted in an article, are there concerns about shooting or defense?
Those are the 2 main concerns. And obviously, as we saw with exception of yesterday, the shooting can be a concern in this regular season. And he has to fix that because you need to be able to hold defenders honest on the floor. If they know that he's just going to pass, the floor suddenly shrinks a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think, and the defensive part, it's not just with him. They don't have a lot of elite defensive players.
They're a lousy defensive team.
Yeah. So where they're going to make it up is the whole 5 guys on a string, how engaged they are. And where Lonzo can help with that is back to what I was saying before with the offense and how he's passing the ball. If he's getting them open looks, that slows down teams to get out in transition. And 2, if his teammates are hitting shots, it's human nature. They're going to feel more engaged in the game itself in terms of their effort and their willingness to expend their energy elsewhere. And that's one of the issues in recent years where if guys weren't getting their shots down, they weren't getting touches.
With Kobe, they weren't.
Yeah, and part of that was the old chicken and egg with him of, hey, his shot is going at times. Sometimes other guys are standing around, but it always kind of became a self-fulfilling prophecy because then they felt more inclined to just watch him or not cut as hard, and as a result, he didn't pass him the ball. But with Lonzo, if he's continuing to do what he's doing, they're going to get easier baskets, and then they're going to want to hustle more on defense. And then that is another trickle-down effect. If they're making stops, getting rebounds, Lonzo's going to sprint down the floor and get out in transition.
Now, there was a pickup yesterday. For the casual NBA fan, this would not mean a lot. But the Lakers gave 18 large to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is a decent shooting, tremendous defensive 2-guard. There's not many good 2-guards in the league. he is repped by LeBron's people.
Yep.
LeBron was center court last night watching Lonzo. I think LeBron is keenly aware of his impact doing that last night. Was LeBron making a statement? What did the Lakers make of it when you talked to your sources there?
Yeah, I mean, he was overheard telling people he's impressed with Lonzo's passing. So that obviously helps. Laker fans obviously did their due diligence in planning the idea of, hey, LeBron, come to the Lakers. And I think back to your point about Pope and the fact that he's represented by Rich Paul, who is LeBron's agent, that certainly helps. They now have a relationship that's built in terms of doing business. But I think the larger components in play were what you alluded to. They need to get a shooter. They needed to get a pretty good defender. They need to have someone who is a positive presence in the locker room, and then the financial flexibility component. They did not want to sign any guys beyond 1 year, and to make up for that, they're willing to kind of spend more money. $18 million, he's going to be making more than Klay Thompson and Draymond Green next season. And as a result of that, they kind of had to make a roster move where they waived David Nwaba. You know, he's kind of seen as one of these guys that, you know, he came from the D-League last year, second-year guy.
Beloved by everyone.
Yeah, but loved everyone. And, you know, as far as setting the tone, culture, hey, he had that defensive hustle. But at the end of the day, they're willing to do that because this guy, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, can kind of give them some backcourt depth and that mentorship that they want.
Mark Medina and LA Daily News. And finally on Lonzo, take me to his personality. So I thought he pressed a little bit in the first night. I would expect any young person. I mean, I can remember, you know, to personalize this, I threw up my first 7th grade game. I was terrified. And I'm thinking, Lonzo, the world is staring at him. And I thought he pressed in the opener. But when you were around him for a week, what's his personality, non-basketball, pregame, postgame?
He's very even keel through the good and the bad. And I think that can cut both ways. You know, sometimes you want your athletes to wear their emotions on their sleeve, set the tone. But I think, especially in moments of adversity, it's a good thing not to overly react. And what was really striking, first game in particular, he was talking about how he felt frustrated. You know, some of the guys on the Lakers said the same thing. But if you were looking at his body language, it was not apparent at all that he was frustrated with the fact that he wasn't hitting shots. And to his credit, he was still finding a way to impact the game. And going back to earlier about his passing, he was able to get some rebounds. So, you know, I think the earlier return suggests that, of course, he's going to have to miss shots. But when there are games that doesn't happen, that's not going to totally dictate how good of a game he's going to play. And I think that goes a long way, not just in terms of bringing something to the table, but if he's not showing any outwardly emotions and getting rattled, trickle-down effect, especially with a young team that's obviously inexperienced. They don't quite have the maturity of a seasoned veteran in handling adversity.
36 points. The one thing I've noticed, that the two things that jump out to me, he's long. He's going to rebound well for a guard in this league. That you can't deny that.
How about that play yesterday where he threw across court to Kyle Kuzma? It's like he's an NFL quarterback.
No, his passing and his rebounding, today he'll be better than the NBA average at point.
And the thing about his passing that really impressed me is, of course, he's going to fill the highlight reels with that, but it's very fundamentally sound. He's making the simple play. It's not like he's trying to be fancy. He has that court vision and awareness that allows him to do that, but he's willing to make the simple play. And kind of when you compare that to D'Angelo Russell, his first 2 seasons with the Lakers, that was one of the other criticisms. They were really intrigued with his passing, but a lot of times he was trying way too hard to make that home run play as opposed to a simple bounce pass. And I think here with Lonzo, he has those fundamentals down pat.